The views on a Breath of Fresh Air podcast reflects the parties involved, and we encourage you all to use it as a conversational tool that will lead to personal studies of your own.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Welcome to a Breath of Fresh Air podcast. Here with your hosts, Earl Roberts and Nakhaz Gay. As a young person, Christianity can be so foggy, like smoke in the mirrors and so unclear. But we're here to bring you a breath of fresh air.
Wow, how long could he be up there? It's been days, weeks. Wonder if he's okay. But I still see the thunder and lightning. But I wonder what could God still be talking about?
Moses, listen. Do not follow the crowd in doing wrong. When you give testimony in a lawsuit, do not pervert justice by siding with the crowd. Do not show favoritism to a poor man in a lawsuit. After leaving Egypt, the Israelites were on their way to Canaan. However, this group of people journeying through the desert was not just a simple group of nomads. They were in fact a nation, God's holy nation, His holy people. It was time for God to meet with His people and show them His divine glory and give them His divine laws. And all of this happened at Mount Sinai. In this episode, we are delving into the 10 Commandments of Exodus 20. Be blessed and enjoy.
All right, welcome back to another episode of A Breath of Fresh Air. Thank you guys for tuning in again. And so this week, well, we're going to continue with the story of Exodus, but just as a recap for last week, we ended with the 10 Commandments in Exodus chapter 20. We got so tied up into the 10 Commandments and their importance and their relevance that we forgot to end out the chapter.
That's true. Because, truthfully, I was kind of going on autopilot. Usually I just follow along with the text, but I was just following along with I had this picture of the commandments just to speak to it.
So you had the picture of the tablets in your head? Or
yeah.
You had a picture just the words?
No, I had a literal picture in front of me with the commandments. And just to be able to speak to each commandment, as they come or whatever. But yeah, and I feel that Exodus 20, it ended off with something. It was supplementary to what he just spoke about in the commandments, but I feel like it was very important information that doesn't get highlighted when you speak about the commandments. A lot of people, when they talk about the commandments, they do what we do, just talk about that 10, especially how people summarize the 10. Because it would start off with say, have no other God. It might start off by saying no idols and stuff. But God literally would say, I visit the iniquity of, and he'd go on and then give you the commandment. But sometimes people just summarize it. But so later on in the text, verse 22, the Lord goes on and talks about idols and altars some more. The verse 22, reading from the NIV, then the Lord said to Moses, tell the Israelites this, you have seen for yourselves that I have spoken to you from heaven. Do not make any gods to be alongside me. Do not make for yourselves gods of silver or gods of gold. Make an altar of...
Oh, boy.
Huh?
Say, boy, oh, boy.
I tell you.
Little did Moses know.
Yeah. Little did Moses know what was coming his way.
Uh-huh.
And truthfully, if you look at Exodus, bro, it's a long dialogue. Moses is probably there for days on top of that hill before they come back down. Because it's chapters, bro. It's like 12 chapters. You know what I'm saying? Before he come back down. But yeah, God saying, make an altar of earth for me and sacrifice on it your burnt offerings and fellowship offerings, your sheep and goats and your cattle. Wherever I cause my name to be honored, I will come to you and bless you. If you make an altar of stones for me, do not build it with dressed stones, for you will defile it if you use a tool on it. And do not go up to my altar on steps, or your private parts may be exposed.
Interesting.
Specific instructions. But what's interesting to me is the silver and gold thing. Because God already say, hey, the first thing he said, don't have no other gods before me. And that could be a literal sense and a figurative sense. Don't have anything that's more important to you than your God, because that becomes a God. So don't have nothing before me. And if that's not enough, do not even make images, period. Don't make an image for the heaven. Don't make an image of Jesus, how you think he looked. Don't make nothing on the earth, nothing in the sea, etc. But then God turns around and says, all right, you know what I've asked and what I've asked from before this is even formally written in the Bible. We saw Cain and Abel do sacrifices before it was written. Commit a sacrifice unto me. You understand what I'm saying? And God is saying, hey, the thing that I do ask for you to worship me, I don't want silver and gold.
See, that's what's interesting to me too, because I'm like, you would think, okay, especially children of Israelites, okay, I want to build an altar to God. I will make the altar look nice. God saying, nah, I don't want no precious stones, no gold, no precious metals on this. I just want earth, stones, mud. Build the altar, keep it simple. I don't need, because and I think God in His wisdom too is saying that I know it's gonna become a competition. Who can have the prettiest altar to me? Y'all making this altar a God thing now. And
then think, yeah, exactly. And then you gotta think about it, right? This is a God for all, right? The rich and the poor, the everything. Like He's a God for we are all His children. Not everyone can be able to afford gold. I can't afford an altar of gold to make for God.
I mean, they did have a bunch of gold and stuff from the Egyptians right now.
Right, but at the same time, if there's something He's saying that should last and that should be applicable to everybody, you understand what I'm saying? And even if we were to just make it for today, like if we were to adjust for today's day, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't like in order to do the best of the best, I can't compete with other people.
A diamond-studded altar.
Exactly, I can't compete with that. Like
someone can't pay altar chrome out.
And this is the thing, right? You was just saying that, stuff like that was in abundance. But it's always in abundance?
Earth
is always in abundance, bro.
Beneath their feet.
Exactly.
Beneath their feet.
So God ain't trying to isolate nobody. I am a person, I have been surrounded by jewelry my entire life. Just in our society, family, friends, everything. But being raised in the denomination we were raised in, we are taught not to wear jewelry, and that's because we're supposed to be a peculiar people. We can't be looking like the world. Imagine Jesus didn't come with nothing flashy. Everything about Jesus was chill and basic.
He was born in a manger.
A manger, bro. A guy come to Jesus and was like, "Hey, man, I want to follow you," right? And Jesus was like, "Whoa, understand? I don't even have a place to live." You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta know it come with this type of lifestyle, And we can see where even God from early in the Bible, He's saying, "Hey, it's a humble thing when you come in to worship me. This ain't no haughty thing." And I feel like that's where Jesus and the Pharisees buck heads a lot. Jesus didn't wash His hands before he eat. The Pharisees get mad at that because a lot of things they do is performative. A lot of things it was like for men to praise you on. You imagine if I have the altar of gold, right? Everyone looking like, wow, like this man this what he doing for God, but he carrying on bad for God. Right?
And some people might take it as an extra blessing from God too. Like, oh, God blessed him so much. He got this golden altar.
Exactly. Think about the woman with the denarius. When she gave like 2 denarius or something like that.
I was thinking about that too. Yeah, the coin.
Yeah, the coin, the 2 coins, right? You have everybody giving their offering. She gave 2 coins. She probably gave the least in terms of monetary value, right? And Jesus was saying, bro, she gave more than anybody else. Because at the end of the day, she gave all she had type of situation. And it go to show like,
I give me my 10%, you give me 100%. My word.
Think about that though, my boy. Think about that. You only give 2, let's say 2 cents, 2 pennies, right? I could have give 10 grand right now, right? Which one would help more in terms of advancing God's mission, like in terms of keeping the lights on in the church and feeding people? Them 2 pennies ain't doing nothing, but God looking at that like, bro, you give more than Him. Because it ain't about the value, you know what I mean?
At the same time too, it's almost like you showing even more faith, like you giving me everything, you saying, God, I don't know where everything else coming from, but I have faith that you're going to guide me through. You give him 10 grand. If you $1 million, you give me 10 grand. 10 grand ain't nothing to you.
Yeah, and that person gave their last. And so like just before we even get into that type of like competitive nature XYZ, God saying from jump, like of course tithing and sacrifice, that's 2 different things, but from here, like right in the same chapter of the Ten Commandments, he's saying, do not do nothing gold and silver. Bro, I asking for earth. I asking for the humble things. So like that happened to put things in perspective for me. When you look at jewelry, you can't justify it and say it's for God, because God already say the silver and gold, I don't want it. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, it's just understanding that, you doing this to enhance your beauty in some sort, and that's a different story for a different time. But
so now we're about to transition to Exodus 21 through 23.
Yes, and I'll tell you, I was very hesitant about this chapter right here. Just being honest, you know what I mean? This is like a controversial chapter in the Black community. I don't know if anybody else share this type of, I don't want to say animosity, but hesitance towards this chapter besides like Black people. This is what I know. You understand? It's probably other people, but it's a bad taste in the Black community at large when it comes to Christianity. For obvious reasons, the way the Bible was villainized. You know what I'm saying? In the midst of slavery, people were using the Bible, and times where you see servitude in the Bible to justify slavery. I've been familiar with these texts that we're about to read before I've even read this in context in the Bible. And I'm like, why God talking about servants and, you know what I mean, and X, Y, Z? And I just like, that's crazy to me. Like, how can I say this ain't justifying it? But one thing, before we even get into this, one thing to understand is that the times that was living in, and I hate to be the guy to be like the times guy, you know what I mean? But literally, servitude was not uncommon at all in the whole world during that time. Any ancient civilization, you can find that. You could even look at Jacob and Laban. Jacob did not have any money for a dowry for his
Rachel
wives.
and Leah.
So he became a servant. You understand what I'm saying? Now, it's important to realize that being a servant, whether it is to pay a debt, some people sell themselves into slavery because they poor.
Which we gonna see.
You understand what I'm saying? And sometimes, I don't know, it might be an arrangement of some sort, but a lot of times it's just because of money. At the end of the day, I might have steal from Earl, and the judges tell me I have to repay Earl. I don't have the money. All right, now I'm becoming a slave to pay off my debt. You understand what I'm saying? But that is different from when people would kidnap you from a land and force you to be a servant. What Joseph experienced was different than this form of being a servant. This is more like an indentured servant.
And the thing is, like, even these passages even talk about being kidnapped and that kind of stuff too, which should be a punishment. But just as a overview, so Exodus 21 to 23, these are like laws for the judges to help direct and guide the people of Israelites and during this time, so they can, have some type of guidance. Like, okay, here's what to do in these circumstances. So it's like additional commentary, and they covered from servitude to dowries to stealing,
injury,
rape, idolatry, money, property. So it's and just overall, I guess, justice.
And one thing to realize, though, remember, a few chapters before, Moses had to bear this burden by himself. You understand? So Jethro suggested, bro, delegate through God. If it's God's will, delegate. So now we have Moses having a meeting with God and God walking him through all of these stuff. So it's like, we don't have to think about this. Like, God is telling you, this is a whole society. This is more people than that's in the entire Bahamas. You understand? And we see how, no lie, we have a lot of people who criticize the leadership in our country, as everyone does. But we don't even have like a quarter of the amount of people they have. You understand what I'm saying?
Literally.
So God is basically saying, all right, you guys are newly freed slaves. They were once slaves. You understand what I'm saying? Not to be confused with the servants. Exactly. They were once slaves, held against their will, and all type of stuff. They don't own no debt. They just was like, all right, we just gonna make you work. You feel me? And so now you guys have to, everything is new to y'all. Y'all didn't get to build and develop as a nation. Everything y'all have to learn. It's like y'all from square one right now, where every other nation have like hundreds and maybe thousands of years of experience on y'all. So now God have to give y'all a crash course on how to sustain and how to coexist with each other.
And so we see the first laws really deal with I don't even know how we really were going to do this. I don't know if we want to read all of them. But the first laws pretty much deal with stealing. So we see whoever steals an ox or a sheep or slaughters it or sells it must pay it back 5 cattle for an ox or 4 sheep for a sheep. So we're seeing like this almost like, hey, you want to steal, you get caught, you got to pay back 5-fold or 4-fold.
Mm-hmm. You in?
Oh, it's 22.
Yeah.
My bad. So 21. Bang. Yeah, we just off with service. I'm like, why? I was like, how I really get on the ox?
Yeah.
So we see, okay, if you buy a Hebrew servant, he has to serve you for 6 years. But on the 7th year, he will go free without paying anything. So there's also in the Jewish side, there's like the 7th year, which is year of Jubilee.
Mm-hmm.
So all your debts were forgiven, all your you essentially got free. So like you could put yourself into debt. Let's just say I owe Kazi some money. I say, bro, I don't got it. Kazi say, you know what? You come be my servant. I could work for him for that 6 years to pay off my debt, but in that 7 year, I done.
And to me, that's like the opposite of slavery. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, like how people, the Bible is misquoted all the time for whatever people's agenda is. Let's just get that clear. You can find so much stuff in the Bible out of context.
Yep.
That could really feed into whatever you trying to have going on. That's just one thing to make clear. But to me, it's like these some of the same texts that people was using to support slavery, right? But God is basically saying during this time where we have indentured servitude XYZ, we ain't keeping this. Ain't gonna be a forever thing. Don't even get used to this, because after the 6th year, you get rest. You get free from all your duties. So, bro, just think about that. Like, the amount of money I could have owe you could have been like 20 years worth of labor. But 6 years we work, just as simple as just like signifying like the 6 days we work in the week. And on that 7th year, you are free from everything. You know what I'm saying? And so like, I'm like, this is God even showing mercy and teaching us how to show mercy, how not to be the guy like, oh, I enslaving you, bro, and I taking advantage of you in XYZ, you know, and I feel like that's pretty cool too. So yeah, they just keep talking about just other different scenarios. If he comes alone, he is to go free after them 7 years. But if he has a wife, when he comes, he is to go with her. If his master gives him a wife and she bears him sons or daughters, the woman and her child shall belong to the master, and only the man shall go free. But if the servant declares, I love my master and my wife and children and do not want to go free, then his master must take him before the judges. He shall take him to the door or the doorsteps and pierce his ear with an awl. That's like a piercing tool.
Yep.
Then he will be his servant for life. So even based on this, we have something called Stockholm syndrome, but I don't believe that's what this is right now. Or slave mentality. I don't believe that's what this is. But I'm saying like you might be a servant to somebody who treats you well, and you know you better off financially, and just all you need is taken care of under his leadership. Like when you think about like if you think about any kingdom, you know what I'm saying? Like these people are servants, bro, just straight up. You know, you could have your butler, your XYZ, but you know, if I ain't serving you, I probably could have to get a regular job, or I ain't really gonna have all this money, XYZ. And to some people, that's like all I have to do is work. Man, that's solid, like. You know, like, and so basically they saying, all right, if this what it is, like you go before the judges, you all make this deal, and then you show a sign. But I want to know, like, this God saying to pay someone is.
But they're just saying to put a hole in the air, though. They're saying like, yeah, you could pass the air, but they ain't saying like you're putting jewelry in there.
Yeah, I know, but saying that's a person.
It's a hole.
It's the person.
Yeah, it's a person, yeah.
Yeah.
It's how Hans was passed when he's on the cross, too.
That's true.
Uh-huh.
But evil people do that to him.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? But here we saying they telling you to do that. XYZ. So my vibe is, bro, I just trying to have a fair analysis. They say Joseph had a chain around his neck in Egypt. I don't know if that's true, if that's right or not. They tell Jacob tell his children, take out your earrings. We about to go to the altar, get rid of all your idols. You understand what I'm saying? So I trying to understand the distinctions, you know? So I know I can give this one another neutral. I give this one another neutral just because we need to be definitive with this. You understand what I'm saying? So
yep.
It's tie 1-1. You understand what I'm saying? 2 neutral, 1 for, 1 against. All right, just say it.
This could end in a neutrality. All right. So where are we at now? Verse 7. If a man sells his daughter as a servant, she is not to go free as male servants do. If she does not please the master who has selected her for himself, he must let her be redeemed. He has no right to sell her to foreigners because he has broken faith with her. If he selects her for his son, he must grant her the rights of a daughter. If he marries another woman, he must not deprive the first one of her food, clothing, and marital rights. If he does not provide her with these three things, she is to go free without any payment of money. So this is essentially showing that, okay, back in those days, there was a dowry too. So a lot of times, sometimes if the people ain't had the dowry to pay or such and such, sometimes they'll say, okay, I'll give you my daughter to go be raised in this household to make sure that she's a good fit for you guys. So they also saying now, hey, if this servant, let's just say, I don't know, anyway, let's just say I have a friend and his daughter comes to live with me. Way back in the time now, his daughter comes to live with me. I want his daughter to marry my son. So now, if for some reason I don't want this girl to marry my son anymore, I am not supposed to treat her any wrongly. I'm not supposed to mistreat her. I'm supposed to give her food or stuff. I'm supposed to treat her like a free woman, essentially. I'm not supposed to treat her any less than. And then I can't. And since I made an arrangement with the other guys, the daughter's father, I can't just sell her off and say, oh yeah, I'm gonna just give you to someone else since I don't want you anymore. Mm-hmm. You can't do that. So you're supposed to still protect her rights, still protect her humanity and her dignity while she's with you. And then at the end, if you still have no use for her, sounds bad. If you still don't want to marry her or anything, just let her go free. And you don't owe anything, they don't owe you anything.
Yep. Then we go on to personal injuries. Verse 12. Say it again.
I was like, an eye for an eye?
Yeah. Anyone who strikes a person with a fatal blow is to be put to death. Straight up. Crazy. However, if it is not done intentionally, but God lets it happen, they are to flee to a place I will designate. But if anyone schemes and kills someone deliberately, that person is to be taken from my altar and put to death. Anyone who attacks their father or their mother is to be put to death. Anyone who kidnaps someone is to be put to death, whether the victim has been sold or is still in the kidnapper's possession. So this is against the kidnapping people of slavery XYZ.
Another thing I want to point out too, so you see in verse 13 where it says they will flee to a place that I will designate. So in that society too, in the Hebrew society and Israelite society, they had safe cities or refugee cities or cities of refuge. So let's just say you were accused of killing somebody, you could flee to these cities of refuge, and then no one actually could attack you or harm you until your case is solved. Mm. So if you stay amongst the people, things gonna be heated. So God had it set up and say, hey, you know what? Couple miles away is a city you could go to. You'll see this in I think it's Joshua 20 and Numbers 35. They actually talk about the cities of refuge. So you commit a crime, or if you are accused of committing a crime, you could flee to these cities until your case has been solved. And that way you have a fair trial.
Yeah, nice.
Before the judges.
Yeah, but to me, it's this same text this is the first time they actually address servitude in this type of way in the Bible. But in the same chapter, they talking about don't kidnap and you can get killed for that. It's crazy. But I say, people choose to use the Bible to weaponize whatever agenda they have, to use it as a weapon. Basically, is what I'm saying.
And then we see anyone who curses their mother or father is to be put to death. If people quarrel and one person hits another with a stone or with their fists, and the victim does not die but is confined to bed, the one who struck the blow will not be held liable if the other can get up and walk around outside with a staff. However, the guilty party must pay the injured person for any loss of time and see that the victim is completely healed. And it's these things you would see the day that I would almost say make sense. Mm-hmm. If I hurt you and we go to court, I am going to have to pay for all of your procedures and stuff. Mm-hmm. Straight up.
You see what they're saying? It's just how it is. The only difference is with court, there's so much loopholes and they basically is try to find a ways.
Oh, just settle
around. You understand? But yeah, so basically like a lot of this stuff is just bro, you kill somebody, you gotta die. It's just an eye for an eye, tooth for tooth. It's all fairness. You see what they're saying?
They say I say, yeah, so if the victim does not die but is confined to bed, you ain't gotta die.
You just gotta make sure that they straight, and then you cost them can't work now, so you need to.
You gotta compensate for that.
You gotta compensate for that. If people are fighting and hit a pregnant woman and she gives birth prematurely, God getting very specific. Like, let me just give you every scenario and thing now.
Oh, you skip verse 20.
All right. Anyone who beats their male or female slave with the rod must be punished if the slave dies as a direct result. But they are not to be punished if the slave recovers after a day or two, since the slave is their property.
Mm-hmm.
If people are fighting and hit a pregnant woman and she gives birth prematurely, but there is no serious injury, the offender must be fined whatever the woman's husband demands and the court allows. But if there is serious injury, you are to take life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, bruise for bruise. Sheesh. An owner who hits a male or female slave in the eye and destroys it must let the slave go free to compensate for the eye. And an owner who knocks out the tooth of a slave, of a male or female slave, must let the slave go free to compensate for the tooth. If a bull...
The tooth is worth my freedom.
Right? If a bull goes... Because I guess they just trying to say, like, my body ain't in one piece, bro. Mm-hmm. You see what they say?
I pay my debt to you.
Yeah. Sorry, I can't get that back, bro. Back? No. If a bull gores a man or woman to death, the bull is to be stoned to death, and its meat must not be eaten.
I'd be so mad. I'd be like, why you going around my bull? No, I'd say, like, I maybe should have a little bit of control on my bull, but why you around my bull? For my bull to do this to you?
But at the same time, you gotta know your bull, bro. But you gotta know your bull.
But the funny thing is, boy, keep on reading the marks. I like how the Bible gone like in like detail about it too. If, however, the bull has a habit of goring people and the owner has been warned, but has not kept the bull penned up, and it kills a man or woman, the bull is to be stoned and the owner is also to be put to death.
That's what I'm trying to show you now. You gotta know your bull.
But I like how the Bible, like, you also putting up, like, it's still painting a picture of negligence and, like, knowing. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're negligent about it, you don't get penalized as by. But if you know, you've already been warned about this. Mm-hmm. You know the consequences of this now. You've been warned. Even when they talk about, like, the murder when we was, like, a couple verses up, it's saying, like, if it's premeditated, he get put to death. Now, if he do it unintentionally, then sure, like, you know, he'd a partial crime. Sure, he could flee to a refuge city, but if it was premeditated, yeah, you're getting put to death because you think about this. This was no accident. All right. If the bull gores a male or female, say this is verse 32, the owner must pay 30 shekels of silver to the master of the slave, and the bull is to be stoned to death. That's where I get the 30 shekels from earlier. If anyone uncovers a pit, or digs one and fails to cover it, and an ox or donkey falls into it, the one who opened the pit must pay the owner for the loss and take the dead animal in exchange. Ouch.
It's only fair, bro.
I mean, I guess you could eat the meat at least.
Yeah.
At least that meat's still clean. Mm-hmm. If anyone bulls injures someone else's bull and it dies, the two parties are to sell the live one and divide both the money and the dead animal equally. However, if it is known that the bull have a hop, I really feel like the Israelites had a problem of bulls just running around, just running wild in the camp. I don't know if you're picking up on this on me, but
no, I just feel like I don't be around bulls, bro. So I don't know the nature of bulls.
But clearly, it was important enough for God to address this, that these bulls were dangerous. Mm-hmm. Yet the owner did not keep it penned up. The owner must pay animal for animal and take the dead animal in exchange. So if my bull killed your bull, and this bull just acting out of character, we'll split both the live bull and the dead bull. Mm-hmm. If I just reckless and my bull just acting a fool, I gotta give you the dangerous bull.
Yeah. That's funny.
I'd be like, well, this bull has caused me too much pain. Take him.
Yeah.
So now in chapter, you want to say something? So in chapter 22, we're talking about property. This way I come back to the whoever steals an ox or a sheep, get to pay back 5 times the amount of oxes and 4 times the amount of sheep. If a thief is caught breaking at night and is struck a fatal blow, the defender is not guilty of bloodshed. But if it happens after sunrise, the defender is guilty of bloodshed. So if I could see you, I'm guilty.
Boy.
But at night, I ain't held liable. Or am I misinterpreting this?
No. See, because, all right, let me tell you why. It's like, if you steal it from me, right? and I can't see you that good, and I whop you or I hit you, right? I ain't know I hit you in your head, Dread. You understand what I'm saying? I know I would leave you leaking after hitting you because I can't see. And it's a lot of nerves going on right now. There's a lot of adrenaline. But if it's daytime, that's a more conscious decision. You understand? Because like
I go on for the fatal blow.
yeah, if you steal it from me, that don't always mean you dangerous. See, now we got guns and thing now. You see what I'm saying? This person could have been unarmed, just stealing from you. You know what I mean? You could have been a pickpocket or just a burglar and type of thing. That means you got to kill them or harm them to that extent. You see what I'm saying? Especially when they have rules against if someone steals, like what to do. So, but like you gotta assume some of the guilt for purposely trying to injure someone because you take it too far, essentially. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's how I see it.
So, picking up back in verse 3 of chapter 22, anyone who steals must certainly make restitution. But if they have nothing, they must be sold to pay for their theft.
Yeah, this harkening back to verse 21, chapter 21.
If the stolen animal is found alive in their possession, whether ox or donkey or sheep, they must pay back double. If anyone grazes their livestock in a field or vineyard and lets them stray and they graze in someone else's field, the offender must make restitution from the best of their own field or vineyard. If a fire breaks out and spreads into thorn bushes so that it burns shocks of the green or a standing green in the whole field, the one who started the fire must make restitution. If anyone gives a neighbor silver or goods for safekeeping and they are stolen from the neighbor's house, the thief, if caught, must pay back double. But if the thief is not found, the owner of the house must appear before the judges, and they must determine whether the owner of the house has laid hands on the other person's property. In all cases of illegal possession of an ox, a donkey, a sheep, or a garment, or any other lost property about which somebody says, "This is mine," both parties are to bring their cases before the judges. The one whom the judges declare guilty must pay back double to the other. And like we see again, it's just saying that these are just trying to establish the framework on which Israel should be governed by. So like just pretty much trying to settle these minor disputes. If y'all can't decipher and both y'all have claim, come before the judges, we can try and make a discernment based on what's going on. You get caught, you're paying back double. If you was placed in possession and the things get stolen from your possession, if we could find the thief, you got to pay back double. Now, we can't find a thief. You got to come before the judges and we got to figure out how negligent you was in this or if you steal it yourself.
Exactly.
Essentially, they just set up a little court system. Verse 10, if anyone gives a donkey or an ox, a sheep or anything or any other animal to their neighbor for safekeeping and it dies or is injured or is taken while no one is looking, the issue between them will be settled by taking an oath before the Lord that the neighbor did not lay hands on the other person's property. The owner is to accept this and no restitution is required. You know, sometimes laws just don't seem fair.
Yeah.
Who am I to say that though? But if the animal was stolen from the neighbor, restitution must be made to the owner. If it was torn to pieces by a wild animal, the neighbor shall bring the remains as evidence and shall not be required to pay for the torn animal. You see, in today's society, I'd be like, you should have better security. I give you my animal, you know the necessary requirements in place to make sure my animal's not safe.
See, but suppose it just die naturally too, though. Like that's
I'm just saying naturally, talking about a wild animal.
Yeah,
I should say, boy, you live in a pop car, and a bear come in your yard and eat my dog.
Yeah, true.
You owe me a new dog?
Same time, what you want me to do against a bear exactly? Help me out with that. Help me out with that. What you want me to do against a bear exactly?
Why your yard ain't protected against bears?
Why it ain't bear proof?
Exactly. Oh my. In verse 14, if anyone borrows an animal for their neighbor and is injured or dies while the owner is not present, they must make restitution. But if the owner is with the animal, the borrower will not have to pay. If the animal was hired, the money paid for the hire covers the loss. So now in verse 16, we see if a man seduces a virgin who is not pledged to be married and sleeps with her, he must pay the bride price and she shall be his wife. If a father absolutely refuses to give her to him, he must still pay the bride price for virgins.
You should keep your hands to yourself.
And now we see, do not let a sorceress live.
Straight up.
Anyone who has sexual relations with an animal is to be put to death.
Straight up.
Whoever sacrifices to any god other than the Lord must be destroyed.
God never play around with that other gods thing, bro.
No, definitely not.
Like if you make it through Exodus, like the rest of the Bible is just like, all right. And I mean, like even just the rest of life, bro. It's just like, all right, we know where God stand when it comes to other gods, and it's a no nonsense type of thing.
Then we see, do not mistreat or oppress foreigners, for you yourselves were foreigners in Egypt. Don't treat us better than you won't be treated.
Exactly.
Do not take advantage of the widow or the fatherless. If you do, and they cry out to me, I will certainly hear their cry. My anger will be aroused, and I will kill you with the sword. Your wives will become widows, and your children will be fatherless.
Don't take advantage of
God. My God, don't play with children and
yeah, like God don't play with the humble and the needy. You know what I mean? Like,
if you lend money to one of my people among you who is needy, do not treat it like a business deal. Charge no interest. If you take your neighbor's cloak as a pledge, return it by sunset. But the cloak is the only thing covering your neighbor has. What else can they sleep in? When they cry out to me, I will hear, for I am compassionate. That's an interesting one too. God saying, you lend this person something to be warm, and they supposed to bring it back to you, but you know that's the only thing they got to keep them warm. Why are you trying to be like taking it back? And then don't be trying someone who need this. Don't be charging them interest on this. They're already in a position to provide for themselves to begin with. Now you're trying to make a come up on them. Don't do it.
Yeah, and there's certain things like just like from a human perspective, you should care about people more than you care about money. Like if you lending somebody money because they really need it, why you charging them interest and thing? You know what I mean? Like,
And then verse 28, don't blaspheme against God or curse the rule of your people. Do not hold back offerings from your granaries or your vats. You must give me the firstborn of your sons. Do the same with your cattle and your sheep. Let them stay with their mothers for 7 days, but give them to me on the 8th. You are to be my holy people. So do not eat the meat of an animal torn by wild beasts. Throw it to the dogs. So it's like some dogs running around their camps, right?
yeah. Someone was trying to convince me that dogs ain't real animals. Like, oh, bananas ain't a real fruit. And I was like, bro, I don't like when people come to me with these type of things, bro. Like, bro, dogs in the Bible, but multiple times, bro. Like, you see what they said? But anyway.
Yeah, I wanted to delve deep on that topic, but at the same time, I don't.
Yeah.
So in chapter 23, do not spread false reports. Again, do not lie. Do not help a guilty person by being a malicious witness. Don't lie.
Yeah.
Do not follow the crowd in doing wrong. When you give testimony in a lawsuit, do not pervert justice by siding with the crowd, and do not show favoritism to a poor person in a lawsuit.
Just be fair.
Don't lie.
Yeah. Don't bear false witness and be fair. That's because the person poor. If a poor person do something illegal towards a rich person, just because they poor, that don't mean you gotta side with them. Just be fair and just in all manners.
If you come across your enemy's ox or donkey wandering off, be sure to return it.
Just your enemy now.
Don't steal.
Your enemy, donkey, if you see them wandering off, return it.
If you see the donkey of someone who hates you falling down under its load, do not leave it there. Be sure to help them with it. Do not deny justice to your poor people in their lawsuits. Have nothing to do with a false charge, and do not put an innocent or honest person to death, for I will not acquit the guilty.
I just be thinking, but that line, when you think about all the people who's like coerced to, you know what I mean, to plead guilty and XYZ, and they know they innocent, and then the judges get to sleep comfy at night, putting all type of innocent people behind bars. Because when it comes, like just when it comes to the system and just like the way they oppress people from time, dog. Like I just used to be wondering, like I know they putting curses on their life, but you just don't get to see it. Just like what we was talking about Joseph and Potiphar. Like when Joseph become top ranking, I just wonder what his relationship with Potiphar was like, if Potiphar was alive, or if they ever cross paths. You know what I mean? Did Joseph have anything to say to him? You know what I mean? Did Potiphar get punished for wrongfully putting someone in jail? You know what I mean? But vengeance is the Lord, and we ain't righteous enough to want to see people get their just desserts. Because at the end of the day, We talking about crimes that's being committed, but we commit sin every day. That's like the same thing to God. Crime, sin. If it's something against God that's not right, all of us guilty of that thing. You understand? So if you holding someone like, oh, I can't wait to see them, it ain't fair because you don't expect that type of situation from God. You don't want God hold you accountable for literally every single thing you do. You see what I'm saying? So I can understand why God don't even allow us to see certain people get their punishments to them.
Oh my! And then we say, do not accept a bribe, for the bribe blinds those who see and twist the words of the innocent. Do not oppress a foreigner. You yourselves know how it feels to be foreigners because you were foreigners in Egypt. God, remind them again. It's the second time he's saying, don't oppress foreigners. Don't treat foreigners wrongly. And then I like the one say, don't accept a bribe. Because once you accept that bribe, you're almost obligated to follow whatever the person who paid you that bribe say. It twists the words of the innocent. Mercy. And then verse 10. For 6 years you are to sow your fields and harvest the crops, but during the 7th year let the land lie unplowed and unused. Then the poor among your people may get food from it, and the wilds may eat from what is left. Do the same with your vineyard and your olive grove. 6 days do your work, but on the 7th day do not do work, so that your ox and your donkeys may rest, and so that the slave born in your household and the foreigner living among you may be refreshed. Be careful to do everything I have said to you. Do not invoke the names of other gods, and do not let them be heard on your lips. And we see this back to 10 Commandments again. God saying, no, Sabbath, you all ain't working. And then don't even let the names of the other gods be heard on your lips. See, God, we keep revisiting this over and over again.
It's so much times God trying to get the point clear. Like, stop involving other gods in anything. I am your God. And he's always introduced himself. Yeah, you remember the guy who bring you out of Egypt? Don't forget these things. But it's like you have to keep reminding them of who he is. This whole time, every time he speak, he qualified, I'm the God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, or the one who brought you out of the hand of the Egyptians, out of the land of bondage and XYZ. And he still feels the need to have to tell them, don't worship idols. You could get put to... How much time he said, bro, if you do this, I ain't gonna protect you. If you do this, you could get put to death. XYZ. It's so much things he's saying, bro. Why you should not worship idols, create idols, anything like that.
And then, so now in verse 14, we start talking about some annual festivals that the Israelites had. So in verse 14, 3 times a year you have to celebrate a festival to me. Celebrate the festival of unleavened bread. For 7 days eat bread made without yeast, as I commanded you. Do this at the appointed time in the month of Aviv. For in that month you came out of Egypt. No one is to appear before me empty-handed. Celebrate the festival of harvest with the first fruits of the crops you sow in your field. Celebrate the festival of ingathering at the end of the year, when you gather in your crops from the field. 3 times a year all the men are to appear before the sovereign Lord. Do not offer the blood of the sacrifice to me with anything containing yeast. The fat of my festival offerings must not be kept until morning. Bring the best of the first fruits of your soil to the house of the Lord your God. Do not cook a young goat in its mother's milk. Interesting. Any other?
Nope, no comment on that.
All right. And now in verse 20, we transition again. So, see, I am sending you an angel ahead of you to guard you along the way and to bring you to the place where I have prepared. Pay attention to him and listen to what he says. Do not rebel against him. He will not forgive your rebellion, since my name is in him. If you listen carefully to what he says and do all that I say, I will be an enemy to your enemies and will oppose those who oppose you. My angel will go ahead of you and bring you into the land of the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Canaanites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, and I will wipe them out. Do not bow down before their gods or worship them or follow their practices. You must demolish them and break their sacred stones to pieces. Worship the Lord your God, and his blessing will be on your food and water, and I will take away sickness from among you, and none will miscarry or be barren in your land, and I will give you a full lifespan. That barren pledge is also interesting because in Genesis, we saw how a lot of females were barren, had to eat some mandrakes.
Yeah, generation after generation, we've seen people struggle with being barren. You know, and they are God saying, like, and they must know this history. And maybe they experience it too, but here's God saying, hey man, like, I trying to ride for y'all. Like, that's the type of talk everybody want to hear. We riding, I'll be an enemy to your enemies. You know how I do when I'm an enemy to somebody. You understand what I'm saying? And he calling their names too. And then he was basically telling them all the things he could protect them from. You know? And like, to me, it's like God is trying to make it painfully obvious what he's willing to do for his people. But I don't know, like the fact that he even has to repeat it so much, you can tell that it wasn't being received very well. You know, because this is what God given to Moses. He ain't go down and share it with the people. But we've already seen, even before this conversation, where he has said the same sentiments multiple times, you know.
I mean, I think it really just speaks to how depraved they got in Egypt. How, I want to say, I don't even know which word I want to use, but like how, I guess, unconscious they was of just how much idolatry they were just taking in subconsciously. And how it just became so second place to them, and God was really trying to break them out of this habit. Like, because we see like emphasis even from the 10 Commandments, but even throughout these verses, like the emphasis on like, do not worship these gods. I'm reaffirming you these promises. If you don't worship their gods, you still worship in me. I will deliver them into your hands. You are about to go into this land. Don't look at their gods. Don't even speak about these other gods. Don't make no other gods before me. Don't make no idols in silver or gold. Don't make no gods alongside me of silver and gold. The altars you build on, no silver and gold. Like, just show us the state that they were in. We was in chapter 23, verse 27. I will send my terror ahead of you to throw into confusion every nation you encounter. And I will make your enemies turn their backs and run. And I will send the hornet ahead of you to drive out the Hivites, the Canaanites, and the Hittites out of your way. But I will not drive them out in a single year, because the land will become desolate and the wild animals too numerous for you. Little by little, I will drive them out before you until you have increased enough to take possession of the land. I will establish your borders from the Red Sea to the Mediterranean Sea, and from the desert of the Euphrates River, and from the desert to the Euphrates River. And I will give into your hands the people who live in the land, and you will drive them out before you. Do not make a covenant with them or their gods again. Do not let them live in your land, or they will cause you to sin against me, because the worship of their gods will certainly be a snare to you. It's just how wise God is. God saying, the worship of their gods will certainly be a snare to you.
So we can see how, like, God really just prioritize this thing, like not worshiping gods. And from the beginning, Abraham was living in Canaan. No, where he was living? In the land of Ur. He moved to Canaan, right? But he was told not to mingle, not to intermarry XYZ. He shared that to his son. He was very adamant on his son not marrying a Canaanite woman. You understand what I'm saying? The person
super adamant.
Exactly. Jacob, Isaac's son Jacob. No, Isaac told his son Jacob not to marry a Canaanite woman, marry someone from Padan Aram. You know, Esau wasn't given those instructions that we can see, but when he married Canaanite women, it displeased his mother and father. So he more than likely was given those instructions. And I feel like one of the main reasons why it was just so important not to live like that is because of gods and idol worship. These people never worship the Most High God. So it ain't even about being unequally yoked. You guys are just like from two completely different worlds. And it's like, if you're all trying to become one flesh, that means you're going to be a house divided. You know, you're going to have the love for the Most High God, but then you're going to have these other idols that's confusing.
Veil in the closet.
Exactly. And then these other idols might not be you might not have to be as disciplined to serve these idols. So it might become a matter of convenience and a matter of popularity with these idols, you know?
I'm not even going on that point. Let's think about it. How could a statue hold you to any type of regard?
Exactly.
And this just, I guess I don't understand, nor do I
Bro, it ain't even about understanding, bro. It's just not right. It's not the right thing to do, bro. Because God's saying this now, bro. You understand what I'm saying? And it's like, you don't want to offend people in their practices because a lot of times, like, it's how they're raised and X, Y, Z. But this is the truth. God is saying, do not worship these idols. Don't erect these idols. Don't have no other idols, X, Y, Z. And so it's like God give us this in writing so we could have the empowerment to know, I wonder if I right, I wonder if I ain't right. That's how Jethro is kind of feeling like, man, since I see what God do, it helped me to understand how strong and how much more powerful our gods are. Yep. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, even the people during that time, they speculated and they were like, but I really know. I trust in our God. I have faith. But at the end of the day, these people thriving so well while worshiping these gods. You know, it's like the eye test. And we just was doing personal studies on the book of Job. And you can see where Job was inflicted with so much toil that the people around him was like, bro, you had to do something evil to get this type of punishment. It don't make sense.
Your friends.
His friends, like, bro, it's like input, output. You do good gonna come. You do bad gonna come. But they was living in Canaan, the Canaanites were living in a world where they getting good, they getting help, they living good, but they're not doing good. And so the people of Israel, they might be looking around like, bro, what's the incentive for serving this God? Are we even wrong? Maybe we doing the wrong thing. And from a human perspective, it's completely understandable, you know. But now you have a God who, you and I, bro, we read this text and we say, we have the faith of what God has done. People during that time did not have the text because they were making this, you know, they were the text. You understand? They live in the text, right? Of course, they had some type of instructions, but a lot of times they just had to just have faith, to have like kind of blind faith like Abraham. But now God was like, all right, I have to literally make an example. I have to be an example of visual representation of the fact that I am superior to these people for you. And so God showed them this type of thing, so it ain't even nothing to think about no more. This whole time, Abraham was saying, oh, don't intermarry. These people don't intermarry X, Y, Z. But now come a time, man, God literally saying it. And why should we trust him? Because this is a God who just take us out of the land of bondage. I've done this. I just provide this. I just provide that. And like, so like just looking at the lengths that God willing to go through just to get this point across, it helped me to understand even now about thinking about the cultural times that we live in and what could be looked at as idols and what just straight up is idols. Yep. You know? And like, I feel like it's important to stay grounded in your faith, you know, if you believe that Jesus is your Lord and Savior, I don't see why you should try to diversify your religious knowledge by looking at other practices that are completely in opposition from the way our God looks at things. Like you reading from religions that like they approve of idol worships, like they incorporate idols in their thing. Like to me, like stuff like that, you have to understand how that's a slippery slope. How that could be just as marrying with a Canaanite woman. Like you marrying beliefs with, like, not literally marrying, but you intertwining beliefs like that. It could do the same amount of damage as marrying with someone who have that belief system. And that's what God trying to save them, like the Hebrews from, and prevent them from seeing. You know what I'm saying? This person believes in this thing. I detest this thing. They don't know I detest this thing. They don't even serve me. But I'm telling you specifically. You know what I mean? And I know, like, I just feel like from the next amount of chapters that we about to go through, it's probably gonna be like a crash course, basically, for these next chapters, because a lot of things is like very specific things. You know, we're gonna give you all an overview of the rest of Exodus. It's probably like 2 more stories in the book of Exodus, and then some of the books like Leviticus and Numbers, they have some more stories, but a lot of the things are like moral laws and then just ceremonial laws and stuff like that. So moving forward, y'all should expect to hear from us just like maybe a summary on it, so that we could keep the story going and we could keep the story interesting. But overall, the book of Exodus is important because here God is making it blatantly obvious who he is and who these other gods are not. And since we understand God's demeanor towards other gods, we have to now dig within ourselves, look at our lifestyle, look at our cultural backgrounds and the culture that we live in, and ask ourselves, Are we involving ourselves with gods? Are the things that we spend most of our time looking at, other people, the celebrities, XYZ, that we really just investing our time into, would they be considered as gods? Are the things that we dedicate our time to and absorb in our mind pleasing to God? While on the top of Mount Sinai, the Lord didn't only give Moses the 10 Commandments, He also instructed them how to approach certain scenarios. They discussed servants, personal injuries, property damage, justice, etc. But it didn't stop there. Join us next week as we talk about the Ark of the Covenant, the Tabernacle, and various offerings on the next episode of A Breath of Fresh Air. Tonight's episode included voice acting by your hosts, Earl Roberts and Nakhaz. Remember to go ahead and research on your own in order to get a more firm understanding of tonight's episode. And if you enjoyed it, make sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. You can follow us on social media at A Breath of Fresh Air Pod on Instagram and BOFAPOD on Twitter. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you next week.